It's a rematch of Sindelfingen last year, where Gary Anderson had a 10-year hiatus from the winner's circle, and now he takes on Ross Smith again on a European Tour stage.
Wir bekommen direkt Weltklasse Darts geboten, hier bei der Elton Safety Shoes European Darts Trophy 2025. Die Finalsession live und präsentiert von der PDC Europe aus der legendären Lokhalle hier in Göttingen. Wir kommen zu unserem dritten Viertelfinale des Abends und holen unsere nächsten beiden Spieler auf die Bühne. Wir begrüßen aus England die aktuelle Nummer 18 der Welt, der Gewinner von 4 Players Championship Titeln und der ehemalige European Champion. Wir begrüßen Smudger Ross Smith. Er ist der Gewinner von 54 PDC-Titeln. Ein ehemaliger UK Open World Matchplay und Premier League Champion. And a two-time back-to-back champion of the world. It's the Flying Scotsman, Gary Anderson.
One semi-final set up, another one to figure out.
Großen Applaus für den Calculator Kirk Bevins.
That man's going to get the numbers right. We hope the two dart players will as well. This is a rematch of Sindelfingen last year. It was a 10-year wait for Gary Anderson to get another European Tour title, his second in Germany as well. 16th in the world, approaching 16th in the Pro Tour Order of Merit. And you don't need to be a darting genius to figure out what Gary's mission is early in this season. Try and pick up another European Tour title so that he can manage his schedule the way he sees fit. That's exactly what he did last year. So far, so good in Göttingen. His first time in Göttingen. And both players are about to play in their 11th quarter-final on the European Tour. This man has got a very good record against Gary Anderson. He's 36 now. He's been playing top-level darts in different places for quite a few years. But he's in his peak now. And Gary Anderson will be tested again, I'm sure, after an incredible test against the German this afternoon, Dan Dawson.
Yeah, survived 3-match darts against Martin Schindler earlier on in a game that Schindler was dominating. Then it looked like Gary had him, and then Schindler back on top again, but couldn't quite get over the line. Ross Smith kicks things off with a maximum. Did 14 of those this weekend. Took him a little while. It took him quite a long while to get going against Dave Chisholm in terms of the maximums, but it was 4 180s in the last 4 legs of the match that helped him get over the line in that last 16 game. He's already stolen the darts in the opening leg of the match.
96.
That final that they played outside of Stuttgart last year, it was a 90 average game, but you could tell that both players were starting to tire towards the end. It was a survival of the fittest. On that night, it was Gary's turn. Since then, Smith has made another final in Leverkusen. And he's really getting the hang of this European Tour stuff.
65.
Well, he is. He's been excellent this weekend. He's averaging 100 for the tournament. However, the two finals he's been in, the Sindelfingen one against Gary and the Leverkusen one you mentioned, he has underperformed in them. Still something he's got to tick off the list. Oh, that looks good. It is good. Double top for a 160 start.
140.
That angle showed you just how upright they are when they hit the board. Fixes it. Double 16. Oh, that's brilliant. Gary would admit that first dart was in Belgium. But the next two, that rights the wrong, doesn't it?
140.
Yeah, very well done.
Been in Germany all week is Gary. Here in Hildesheim earlier in the week. He is a title winner again in another season. Stuck around for a couple of days with Ryan Searle. Isn't going home until tomorrow. Probably the longest he's been in Germany for many years. I wonder if the flame flickers to become European champion because he was so close once. And in order to right that wrong in that famous final against MVG, where he lost the last 3 or 4 legs, I think it was. But to get there again, like he did last year.
Yeah, and he was only beaten by the eventual winner, Richie Edhouse, who played incredibly to beat Gary in that one. I'm not really sure whether he's that bothered about ticking specific. The only one he cares about is the Grand Slam, I think. And the World Championship, obviously. But there's a huge amount of money that goes along with that. But I don't think he's looking at other titles and thinking, I want to tick it, I want to complete the set or anything. But it's very clear that he still wants to play and he still wants to compete. He wouldn't be here on the Euro Tour otherwise.
Takes his time over dart 1. Now he knows exactly where he's going. It's the bull. That'll do. I don't have the data, but we've had a lot of bullseye checkouts this weekend.
58.
Well, Ross Smith has probably been the best finisher out of everybody over this weekend. He's going along at 57, 58%. And if that continues, you expect a certain level of scoring from him anyway, then Ross Smith is going to be very hard to dislodge.
Yeah, he's had 3 bull finishes himself.
77.
Got a really good record against Gary. 7-4 up from their 11 meetings. There can't be many people who've played Gary 11 times and have a record like that.
Well, look, the last 2 have both gone Gary's way. The final on the Euro Tour last year that Ross could have won, and one was one of those Gary Anderson Pro Tour batterings where he's averaged over 113 in the end. But prior to that, it was 7-2, and I can't imagine there's anybody out there with a 7-2 positive record against Gary Anderson.
128.
Not even Phil Taylor. I know what you mean about those batterings, though. When he gets out of the traps, you just say, oh no. But this would be oh yes if he finds it. That didn't last long. Now, this is what's interesting for me with Gary.
Gary requires 46.
It was always going to be 6 and tops. Early in his career, anyway. But over the last few years, I've seen him go 14 double 16 more.
Double 16's been his go-to double large periods over the last couple of years. And it has been strange to see. He's been very good at it. Double 5, it'll have to be for Ross Smith. Chasing all around the board.
Gary required 20.
Gives the board a stare. Gary knows a thing about double 5, doesn't he? Not right now. I think that slipped out of his hand. That last one.
Rossi require
He hit it to
5.
beat Martin Schindler earlier, but he was nowhere near it there.
No.
Can't keep it
score.
straight. Busts his score first start. That is a horrible error from Ross Smith. Gary Anderson can't keep the smile off his face. A 7th visit for Gary Anderson. He hits the 1. But not the double 2. Now, don't hit the 18, Ross. Do not overcompensate. How many times have we seen players do that?
It was closer to the 18 than the 20.
3. Gary
We're close to a pub game. And the man who used to be called Smiler, you'll hate me for saying that. How much is he smiling in a second? How does he hit that?
Oh!
2.
Wow, I thought he'd smuggled that through for a moment.
2.
Double 1. The great Gary Anderson and Ross Smith, the best finisher of the weekend, stuck on double 1, and finally the leg is won. And it may be the worst leg of darts that either of these two play this entire weekend, with 16 missed darts at double between them, and it could have been more, were it not for the fact that Ross Smith busted his score first start in one of them. And yeah, it's a break of throw for Smudger.
The encouraging thing for Gary is that Luke Humphreys this afternoon had a leg where he missed 10 darts at a double, and he'd go on to beat Michael Smith.
6.
It can fuel your fire if you can channel it the right way.
That is a very John Park perspective on the game. Sometimes it's good to just miss loads of doubles and play rubbish, because then maybe you're going to play really good.
Yeah, get them out of the way.
John Park, the jazz pundit. You never know what he's going to say. Sometimes it's the things you don't say.
Well, this is where the game gets good, because there's been a bit of levity on the stage. The pressure is lifted from the shoulders when you've had a couple of smiles. You're better off doing that early in the game than towards the end. Isn't that right, Gary?
140. Rossi require 85.
Yeah, it goes the 18's route to leave double 8. And it pays off. Now, with Gary on a finish, admittedly a big one, some players would have felt the need to go to the 20 segment, and only a single would have left the bullseye. The treble would have left that double 5. Ross Smith deciding that the best course of action that gave him the biggest probability of winning the leg was going the 18's route.
I absolutely love the sequence of legs. 15, 15, 23, 12.
Yeah, just so it happens they both had the pub leg at the same time. Gary Anderson is going to have to dig himself out of a hole again. He was 3-0 down to Luke Woodhouse. He trailed Martin Schindler in the early stages. But he's found ways of turning games in his favour. Yes, he's needed some help from his opponents. Is Ross Smith going to be as charitable as Martin Schindler and Luke Woodhouse have been so far this weekend?
I'm not sure he is.
Well, to be fair, Martin Schindler didn't look like he was going to be until he missed those darts at the end to win.
Let's not forget that Ross Smith is unseeded. He's on a mission to get a seeding by the middle portion of this year. Very achievable.
But there's no massive chunk of money he's sat on, is there? It's accumulation. It's a platform, a very high platform that he's built for himself. Treble 17 and bull for yet another combo finish on the bullseye. Not going to happen.
57. Gary 120.
This is something Gary has this weekend. Doesn't get his treble.
6.
So Smith, as tall as he is, can stretch his legs even more. He'll stay on the 16s to get 2 more.
32. Gary requires 60.
Now, Gary's ideal single here is high and left. That'll do. So will that. He gets his reprieve, his opportunity to turn it around a little bit in his favour. And this game may still be similar to the one that we've just seen with MVG and Price. Maybe not to the same standard, but in stature, yes. Gary can still turn this round with MVG did against Price.
140.
We all know that Gary doesn't practice a great deal before these matches. He just loosens up. So now that he's got 5 legs to get even more loose on the stage, this might be the right time for him to kick in.
Ross Smith is making it his business to be in the latter end of Pro Tour events. Semi-final, first time out in the Euro Tour in Belgium. Couple of semi-finals on the floor already this year.
140.
Maybe closing in on another semi-final, but what he'll want is titles. Titles get you things. They're the biggest jumps in qualifying for events. The European Championship, obviously.
161.
But the Grand Slam, win one of these, you might get in the Grand Slam, who knows?
He's not going to take a 161 out. But if you look at his social media feeds, he's always very gracious about the tournament and the opponents he faces in events like this. But the undertone of the posts is, I want more. And in order to get more here, double 18 needed to stop Gary getting a shot at a double he's hit twice to win a world title. It's double 14.
Very nicely done. Accidental double-double finish for Ross Smith, just to re-establish that 2-leg gap. Aside from that one aberration of a leg where they were missing and missing and missing, Ross Smith has been deadly on the doubles all tournament.
Have you noticed that Gary has ditched the fancy-looking blue and gold darts as well? He's gone back to the original natural tungsten-looking things.
He has got into the habit lately of turning up with a whole box with different options, and I don't know if he's got a set that he thinks are the best ones. I think he's just vibing it with what feels good on the day in the hand.
From an outside perspective, it definitely looks like these ones are the go-tos. Other versions look aesthetically different, but the structure looks the same. There may be different weightings. Some players are savvy to that. They might have 2 or 3 different weights in their case, just in case they think the air's a bit heavy.
Yeah, we've seen players use heavier darts in the big arenas. Rotterdam's always the one that people mention because of the sort of convection currents coming off 10,000 Dutch people. Seem to get a real breeze on that stage. They were going straight and true, though.
Is it any wonder that Nathan Aspinall wins in Rotterdam, because he's the one who's got the bulky 26 grams? Watch out for him in Rotterdam, and watch out for him in the next game as well.
42.
To get to 1 behind again. It's double 16 this time.
26.
He's got time on his side.
2 out of 15 on the doubles for Gary Anderson in this game. Now, he is going to get more chances, but how confident is he feeling?
70. Gary requires 16.
Well, there was no benefit to that at all, was there?
Gary Anderson.
That was a mean double 8. He looked at his eyes before he hit that. He was staring a hole through it. Anybody who thinks that Gary doesn't care, revisit that double 8 and see what you see. It's a menacing look he's got when the drive is right there in front of you.
I don't know if Ross Smith, we've already mentioned his record against Gary Anderson is very good. Better than most, maybe everybody. I'll have to check. But that game in the final in Sindelfingen really did hurt, as did losing in Leverkusen in the final. He feels like he should have had a Euro Tour title by now. And Gary was beatable that night. He was averaging around about where he is now, around the 90 mark. It will really hurt if Ross Smith cannot beat Gary Anderson tonight when he's playing in a similar fashion.
437.
Gary's generation of players used to always tell younger players, you have to learn to lose before you learn to win. Ross has lost before, but he's winning this game.
42.
Not winning it by 5 legs to 3 just yet.
Stay straight.
100.
And gets the bare minimum to get to a finish, but Ross Smith should be going a leg away from the semi-finals. And is a leg away.
Hard leg, Gary for reverse. Game on.
Both settled nicely now.
140.
It's now a best of 7 game, isn't it?
Wondered if he might have just gone for it for the sort of souvenir shot.
Do you know, I was suddenly reminded of Glenn Durrant.
These averages are painting a very interesting picture about the other half of the draw, because the performer of the quarterfinals so far in a winning sense is Ryan Joyce.
BC's open. Bryce was the standout player in this tournament. He has gone. He's gone, by the way, he's played 3 games. He's got a tournament average of 107. His lowest average is 104, and he is out. Averages are only a guide, but he was still playing beautifully. Gary Anderson steps across.
140.
I didn't like the reaction of Dart 2. As soon as it hit the barrel, it was like a hypotenuse pointing to the right-hand side. Fear not, Gary. You've got a massive lead. Now, leaving double 6 here is not the right thing to do.
96.
He understood that. You don't want to be cornered, say, on double 3. You're better off doing something like he's just done.
Yeah, and we've talked lots recently about players using markers to get down to single to double or whatever. But in that situation, you're 250 points clear.
59.
There's no merit in potentially getting stuck on double 3 and 1-double-1. Because it just eases the pressure. You can pick your double, find your way through to winning the leg.
Do you know something? This afternoon when I was watching Gary play against Schindler, I noticed a change in his approach to scoring as well, which I was very impressed with. When he was hitting the small 20 with Dart 1 like that, if he didn't like the room for Dart 2 and 3 like it was there, he was going 17s first and switching to the 18s with Dart 3. I really like that.
It's all about leaving yourself numbers where you can get to a finish, isn't it?
Correct.
There are interesting discussions to be had about that stuff, but not now, because Ross Smith may be closing in on another Euro Tour semi-final. Gary Anderson is going to make things difficult for him. It's turned into a bit of a slog. It's a low 90 average game here.
100.
How good was that 60? Not even sure how he did it. Gary's throwing them hard now. There's some venom. Now is the time to find the quality. There has been quality in this game. We've had 2 14 darters, a 12 and a 13, but the stuff in between has been a little sketchy. If this goes, it's the distance again for the Flying Scotsman in Göttingen. The distance it is.
Gary Anderson finds the best leg of the match to break. He has the dart, and is it going to be another agonising defeat to the Flying Scotsman on the Euro Tour for Ross Smith?
There it is again, the use of the 17s instead of the 19s. Will that be a factor in this leg?
There have been a couple of legs in this game where Smith has had a dart and double and then lost the leg. But it's not like there's any that have got away from him where he's had dart after dart after dart. Gary Anderson is stuck in there. And now he's playing his best stuff of the match. He was 3-1 and 4-2 down and 5-3 down.
You said this afternoon, Dan, that when Ross Smith played Chizzy, there'd be 9 maximums in that match. There's been 9 in this one.
He might not be done yet. Because Ross Smith, if he can hit a maximum when he comes back to the board, and he might need to, it could help him win it.
Anderson could finish this match 11-11.
It's not enough. Gary Anderson's not even going to be forced to go for the bullseye here. So he'll give himself 3 match darts at double top. He has found his best stuff of the match right at the end.
Gary's already getting himself ready for tops. Ross Smith can do no more. All he can do is watch.
And he is watching Gary Anderson move through to the semi-finals. Ross Smith looked like he was going to wrap it up. He led for so much of the game. He had a 2-leg cushion for so much of the game. But Gary Anderson rattled off the last 3 legs in just, 38 darts. It is a surge for the Scotsman, and he's into the semis.